When Croatia declared itself independent from Yugoslavia in 1991 and civil war broke out, no one expected the old walled city of Dubrovnik to be under threat. But from here, Žarkovica, where the Serb and Montenegrin forces launched their attack, was an easy target. And their intention wasn't just to kill, but to destroy the historic city that was the pride of the Croatian people.
Serbia's response to sanctions, the most intensive shelling of Dubrovnik this year.
Another direct hit on one of Dubrovnik's seafront hotels, the umpteenth of the last month.
Despite peace since 1995, Croatia's proximity to the more troubled Baltic states has meant that British tourists have been slow to return. But the restoration of Dubrovnik is gradually bringing people back. I joined Dubravka, a member of the restoration team, on a walk around the city walls. It's so compact, isn't it, all the buildings?
Yes, this is the value of Dubrovnik, you know, not the individual buildings, but the entirety.
But one thing you do notice are the different coloured tiles. Is that an indication of some of the damage that was done?
Yes, because 2/3 and even more of the roofs of Dubrovnik have been hit during the war. And we've repaired, let's say, 80% of them.
What was it like here during the bombing? It must have been
bad.
Quite terrifying.
Bad as everywhere else. We were afraid not only for our lives, but here everybody is very fond of the architectural heritage.
So is it nearly back to its former glory, do you think? Is it close to being back?
Yes, I think it is. You can see that it doesn't look like a ruin anymore.
That's thanks to over £16 million that was poured into Dubrovnik as an endangered World Heritage Site. Although, if you look hard enough, there are still physical scars from the war. As a first-time visitor to the city, I have been absolutely knocked back by it. It is just truly beautiful, and I mean every single part of it. The architecture was enchanting, whereas the market in the centre of the city was intoxicating. Thank you. Is it it's alcoholic, is it? Certainly is. There's a Mediterranean feel to the place, and the town shuts down for a siesta or a very long lunch. Nowhere is the Italian influence more evident than when it comes to food. Here we have a nice black risotto, some Dalmatian ham, although compared to its neighbours across the Adriatic, I think you'll find it's an awful lot cheaper. A three-course meal with wine costs around £12. My hotel was close to the old city and the local beach. Like the rest of the Croatian coastline, it was a rock and pebble affair, but the water was wonderfully clear, if a bit bracing. The hotel referred to this as the beach. Obviously, something got lost in the translation. But the Excelsior's recent £10 million renovation has proved very popular with its guests. There aren't any hotels in the old city itself, but the best views are from the outside in. Downtown, the evening promenade was underway, and it's the best time to appreciate the light on the white limestone buildings. You wouldn't call Dubrovnik a late-night city, but one of the most popular places is the Troubadour Jazz Cafe, where the owner, former 1968 Eurovision Song Contest star Marco, is something of a legend. What was the song? I don't know.
Jedan dan. Jedan dan. One day. Jedan dan, samo jedan dan. Onaj pravi presudan čudan dan.
I noticed that you wear the slickest costume, the coolest costume. You're you were the poser in the band. Still.
Yeah.
When the girls were screaming, whose name were they calling? I bet you it was yours.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
You've become very modest. I don't know how you lasted in rock and roll being that modest. Croatian independence has brought about a revival in religion that was suppressed during Yugoslavia's communist period. Roman Catholicism is in and the churches are packed. So I went down to the harbour to take the hourly ferry to the nearest island, Lokrum. There are thousands of islands stretching along the coast of Croatia, but to have one only 10 minutes away from the city is pretty handy. Now a protected nature reserve, it's a very tranquil place to spend the day, as my fellow travellers Mary and John were finding.
And why people don't come here more, I don't know, because it's a couple of hours out of London and you're in this beautiful countryside, aren't you?
I suppose people are still slightly unaware of the situation here. I mean, what do they say at home before you come out?
Well, I'm sure they are, because I was at the hairdresser's and I asked the hairdresser if she knew, Dubrovnik at all, and she had no idea where it was. And I had to revert back to old Yugoslavia. Ah, I've heard of that, she said.
But what about new Croatia? What does the future hold?
The year before the war, 500,000 British tourists came to this part of the world. Last year, the figure was around the 80,000 mark. My feeling is, with renewed confidence in the country, that number is going to rise dramatically. So, get here before the crowds arrive.
7 nights.